Recommend this bill to the House. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Call Raymond Ho. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good legislation prescribes who gets what, why, and what conditions. Under Labour, TVNZ is required to give effect to the Charter. It requires TVNZ to feature programs to reflect who we are as Kiwis, telling our own stories, lifting our sense of self-identity and confidence. It requires Television New Zealand to offer a richer and a more diverse view of our world and grow the business at the same time. I still can recall Chief Executive Ian Fraser said in 2002, when the Labour government introduced the Charter to require Television New Zealand to broadcast a wide range of programs for all groups in New Zealand. He said, and I quote, "The Charter reinforces the fact that Television New Zealand is the New Zealander. We are the only television company owned by New Zealanders, and so we are uniquely placed to provide the programs, the information and entertainment that promote a deeper shared sense of what it means to be a New Zealander," end quote. Mr. Fraser acknowledged that TVNZ is, in some respects, a singular sort of a public broadcaster. On one hand, its mandate is to give effect to the Charter. On the other, it is also charged to maintain commercial performance, meaning it will need to continue to demonstrate a strong ratings performance over its own schedule. What would have changed is the balance. The balance is that under the Charter, Television New Zealand will be driven by content considerations where creative and cultural objectives are as highly valued as commercial ones. As a result, Television New Zealand has been constructing a home place for more New Zealanders, investing in talent and imagination, providing a more diverse menu, particularly in prime time when most people are watching television. So under Labour, every and all Kiwis will get a fair go. We will protect the assets, including Television New Zealand, of course, built up by past generations, so Kiwis own our own future. Under National, the Television New Zealand Amendment Bill will effectively give Television New Zealand the go-ahead to act as a fully commercial broadcaster. It will end TVNZ's public broadcast role and turn it into, as some media commentators put it, a cash cow. This bill will repeal the Charter. There will no longer a requirement for Television New Zealand to broadcast a wide range of programs for all groups in New Zealand. Will the story end here? I'd rather doubt. National's broadcasting policy seems to remove Television New Zealand's charter obligations, but to retain Television New Zealand in public ownership for the moment. Following its logic, that makes no sense. If a public asset is not to be used for public purposes, if Television New Zealand is to become just a commercial broadcaster, then there is no point in the asset remaining in public ownership, isn't it? So the whole agenda smells. This is nothing more than a strategy by this National Act government. Make TVNZ a mirror of its commercial rivals, then say it is no different and put it up for sale as soon as politically possible. So abolishing the Television New Zealand Charter is the latest step. Reading into this bill, the only hint of deviation from a pure commercial broadcaster is the reference to, and I quote, Maori perspectives, end quote. Otherwise, they are just being asked to do what any commercial broadcast would do. There was no longer any requirement for programs for education purpose, local drama, documentaries, or minority interest programs in the schedule. There was also no mention of the minimum amount of local programming required, and because local programs were usually costly to produce compared with buying in international programs, they would be in jeopardy. I recently had a 2-hour interview with a reporter of a newspaper that is located as far away as in Paris. Mr. Francisco Delanco, a senior reporter from French daily newspaper La Crosse, or translated in English, The Cross, and I had a 2-hour talk in Auckland. We covered extensive subjects from the Rugby World Cup, for which he's assigned to do a series of stories. Beautiful New Zealand, where there are more sheep than people, and more relevant to my portfolio, the New Zealand Chinese community and its integration into New Zealand society. The interview, to a large extent, brought with it a sense of reminiscing, the kind of a feeling one often has when overseas, the feeling of missing New Zealand no matter how long you have been out of the country for. It is not uncommon to hear people say that they don't realize how strongly they feel about New Zealand until they go overseas. The fresh air, the landscapes, and everything that makes New Zealand unique. It's a kind of a feeling that often motivates us to think what we should do to make New Zealand a better place for our future generations. Like it or not, New Zealand is a small and isolated country. So a big thank you to the Labour government who secured the Rugby World Cup hosting rights for New Zealand. Without this major event in New Zealand this year, it is hard to imagine that newspapers like that French daily, one of the only 3 daily national French newspapers to turn a profit, would have any interest in us. So promotion of New Zealand is the first step to ensure that we are relevant in both trade and the development of people-to-people contact. So I told Monsieur Alanko during the interview that I have a dream. The dream is that New Zealand will become the Switzerland of the Southern Hemisphere. Relevant to my members' bill on export education, New Zealand will become a world leader and attract only top-quality international students because particularly some of them will stay and become our future migrants.
We're talking about television.
Back to this bill, and in particular comparing New Zealand with France, who sits comfortably, well, I am dreaming because your former Prime Minister Modon terminated that dream in 1975. So comparing New Zealand with France, who sits comfortably as one of the best examples of productivity in the world, New Zealand lags behind and is slipping further down, now sitting near the bottom of the OECD. So to turn this around, we have to rely on innovation and nurturing our creative and entrepreneurial individuals. So in the context of this bill, Mr. Speaker, it is more about our Kiwi national identity, our Kiwi dreams, and about owning our own future. Defining our national identity is not simple because New Zealand is a diverse nation made up of many cultural groups with many different customs and traditions, but a strong sense of New Zealandness is important. So national identity is an important contributor to people's well-being. An established national identity provides access to social networks, which provide support and shared values and aspirations. Social networks can help to break down barriers and build a sense of trust between people, a phenomenon sometimes referred to as a social capital.
Can I just bring the member back? With a minute and a half remaining, this is about television, and I'd like you to concentrate the last minute and a half on what's in the bill. This is a third reading, and the third reading speech is about what has been reported back from the Select Committee. There's a number of standing orders on page 117. Raymond,
thank you for your reminding me, Mr. Speaker. I was about to say this is one of the reasons why we fought so strongly to oppose this bill. And the national, we will remain the only developed country without a public service television channel. The only true public service broadcasting we have left in this country now is Radio New Zealand. And I believe that's a matter of time. That is, Radio New Zealand's public service role will be eroded if national and ACT government has its way. Mr. Speaker, it is a disgrace.
Members, the question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. Aye. To the contrary, no. No. The ayes have it. Party vote. I'll ask the clerk for a party vote.
New Zealand National 58 votes in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
42 votes opposed.
Green Party.
8 votes opposed.
ACT New Zealand.
5 in favour.
Māori Party.
Toko whae whakaheana.
Progressive.
1 vote opposed.
United Future. Honourable Chris Carter.
Vote opposed.
Members, the ayes are 64, the noes are 56. The motion is agreed to.
Television New Zealand Amendment Bill, third reading.
Call on Government Order of the Day number